The stars glittered against the black void as Lieutenant Commander John Nelson stared through the viewport of Outpost Sentinel. The small station orbited Neptune, serving as humanity's farthest permanent military installation. Most days, John found the endless darkness peaceful. Today, something felt different. "Commander, we're picking up unusual readings," said Kate Rodriguez, looking up from her console. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her expression serious. Multiple objects approaching from beyond the heliopause. John moved quickly to her station. "Natural objects?" "No, sir. They're changing course. Definitely artificial." This was the moment Earth had both hoped for and dreaded. First contact. After centuries of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed intelligent life had found them instead. "Alert Earth Command," John ordered, "and get me a visual as soon as possible." Bill Crawford, the station's engineer, joined them at the monitoring station. "We've got visual," putting it on the main screen. The large display at the center of the command room flickered to life. 3 sleek vessels approached, their hulls a dark metallic green with strange, angular protrusions. They moved with precision that suggested advanced propulsion technology far beyond human capabilities. "They're beautiful," whispered Lisa Murphy, the station's communication specialist. "And dangerous," John added. "Any response from Earth Command?" "They're scrambling, sir," Kate replied. "All military forces are being put on high alert. They're ordering us to establish contact but take no aggressive action." John took a deep breath. "Lisa, open a channel using the first contact protocols." Lisa's fingers moved across her console. "Channel open, broadcasting on all frequencies and formats. This is Lieutenant Commander John Nelson of Earth's United Space Command. We welcome you to our solar system and extend peaceful greetings from humanity." The minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, the main screen changed. A reptilian face appeared, scales glistening under lights, amber eyes with vertical pupils regarding them coldly. "We are the Draconian Hegemony," the alien said in perfect English, their voice deep and resonant. "Your primitive translation programs are unnecessary. We have studied your transmissions for decades." John felt a chill run down his spine. They had been watching Earth, learning about humans, all while remaining undetected. "I am Sub-Commander Vex of the Hegemony Scout Division. You will inform your leaders that the Sovereign Council requires Earth's immediate surrender and integration into the Hegemony. Resistance is inadvisable." "With respect, Sub-Commander," John replied carefully. "Earth's people value their independence. Perhaps we could discuss peaceful cooperation instead?" The alien's expression didn't change, but something like amusement flickered in those reptilian eyes. "Your species' tendency toward optimism has been noted in our studies. The Void Sovereign will arrive in your system in 10 of your days. Your leaders will present their submission then, or face demonstration of our power." The screen went dark. "What's the Void Sovereign?" Bill asked. "Nothing good," John replied. "Kate, get me a secure line to Earth Command immediately." 3 days later, John found himself in an underground facility beneath Geneva, surrounded by Earth's highest military and political leaders. Sensor data from across the solar system was projected onto screens around the room. "The Draconian vessels have taken position near Jupiter," General Samantha Wright explained, pointing to a tactical display. "Our deep space telescopes have detected a massive object approaching from the direction they came from. We believe this is the Void Sovereign they mentioned." The room fell silent as new images appeared. The approaching vessel dwarfed anything humans had ever built. Early estimates suggested it was nearly 20 kilometers long, with weapons emplacements visible across its hull. "We've intercepted communications between the scout ships," continued the general. "Our linguists have made progress with their language. They're discussing a demonstration involving Mars." President Alan Garcia stood up. "What are our options?" The defense secretary looked grim. "Militarily? None, Mr. President. Our entire fleet couldn't scratch that thing. And from what we've gathered about the Draconians, they've conquered hundreds of worlds. They see it as their right to rule lesser species." John cleared his throat. "Sir, if I may?" Conventional defense is impossible, but we might have another option. All eyes turned to him. The Draconians expect us to either surrender or mount a futile defense. But humans have something that, according to the transmissions we've intercepted, is rare among species they've encountered: a history of asymmetric warfare and piracy. You're suggesting we hijack their ship? President Garcia asked, incredulous. I'm suggesting we try, sir. If they're planning to demonstrate their weapon on Mars, millions of colonists will die, and Earth will be next if we don't submit. The room erupted in overlapping conversations. General Wright silenced them with a raised hand. How would this even work, Commander Nelson? They've requested a meeting to discuss our surrender. We send a small team posing as diplomats. Once aboard, we find a way to take control of the ship. Impossible, someone muttered. Maybe, John acknowledged. But compared to the alternatives, surrender or annihilation, it's worth trying. President Garcia studied him carefully. If we attempt this, who would lead such a mission? I would. Sir, I've had first contact with them already, and I'd need a small team of specialists. 5 days later, John stood in a hangar looking at the 3 people who would join him on what might be a suicide mission. Kate Rodriguez checked her specially designed weapons, non-metallic composites that could evade standard detection. The good news is that reptilian species often have different security concerns than mammals. Their tech might not be designed to detect our specific biology. Bill Crawford was reviewing schematics they'd managed to gather from passive scans of the Draconian scout ships. Their technology is incredible, but all tech has weaknesses. I'll find them. Lisa Murphy looked up from her custom-built communication and hacking devices. Their communications are heavily encrypted, but they're still bound by the laws of physics. No encryption is unbreakable with enough time and processing power. John nodded. Time is something we don't have much of. The Void Sovereign enters orbit around Mars tomorrow. We'll be shuttled up to meet them, supposedly to discuss Earth's surrender terms. He looked at each of them. I won't lie. Our chances are slim. But throughout history, humans have accomplished the impossible when backed into a corner. The Draconians have ruled the stars for thousands of years. They've never encountered humans before, and they have no idea what we're capable of, Kate added with a grim smile. Exactly, John said, checking his diplomatic credentials one last time. They built the Supercarrier to rule the galaxy. Let's show them why that was their biggest mistake. Outside, the sun was setting on possibly humanity's last day of freedom. Tomorrow, they would either pull off the most audacious hijacking in history or die trying. Either way, the Draconians were about to learn an important lesson about underestimating humans. The diplomatic shuttle approached the massive Draconian Supercarrier. Through the viewport, John and his team got their first real look at the Void Sovereign. It stretched on for kilometers, its dark green hull covered with weapon ports and strange, glowing sections. Next to it, Earth's largest battleships would look like tiny toys. Remember, John said quietly, we're diplomats bringing surrender terms. Stay in character until we find a secure location. Kate adjusted her formal jacket, underneath which she had hidden several weapons. How will we know when it's safe to break cover? We won't, John replied. That's what makes this fun. Their shuttle was guided into a massive docking bay. Dozens of alien craft were stored there, all different shapes and sizes. Bill studied them with a mixture of awe and professional interest. Those ships are from different civilizations, he whispered. The Draconians didn't build all this technology themselves. They took it. A squad of Draconian soldiers waited as the humans disembarked. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, their muscular bodies covered in scales that ranged from deep green to nearly black. Each carried a weapon that hummed with energy. The High Commander will see you now, said the lead soldier, his voice a deep rumble. Follow. They were led through corridors large enough to drive vehicles through. Other alien species hurried about their tasks, some humanoid, others completely different from anything on Earth. Many cast fearful glances at the Draconians. Lisa leaned close to John. They're using slave labor from conquered worlds. Makes sense, John whispered back. Easier to steal a civilization's technology if you force the creators to operate it for you. They entered a vast chamber with a ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. At its center stood a draconian larger than the others, wearing ornate armor with glowing symbols. "I am High Commander Czar," he announced, looking down at the humans with cold amber eyes. "You bring your planet's surrender?" John stepped forward with a digital tablet. "High Commander, Earth wishes to discuss terms before any formal surrender." Czar made a sound like stones grinding together. A laugh. "There are no terms, human. There is only submission or destruction. But I will humor your species' need for talk. You may remain aboard while your leaders consider their final decision." He turned to an aide. "Show them to the diplomatic quarters. They are not to access any restricted areas." As they followed the aide, Kate muttered, "Well, that was easier than expected." "Too easy," John replied quietly. "They're not concerned about us at all. Their quarters were luxurious but clearly designed for surveillance." Once alone, Bill took out a small device and swept the room, finding listening devices in every corner. "We can't talk freely here," he whispered, showing the others his findings on a small screen. John nodded and wrote on a notepad. Tonight, when ship cycles to low power, the team spent hours pretending to discuss Earth's surrender options, while secretly observing everything they could about the ship's layout and security. When the lighting dimmed to simulate night, they made their move. Lisa used a device she'd hidden in her shoe to create a loop in the surveillance system. "We have maybe 30 minutes before someone notices." They slipped into the corridor. Unlike the busy daytime, only occasional patrols moved through the halls. Using the basic ship layout Bill had memorized, they made their way toward what they believed was a maintenance section. There, Bill pointed to a narrow service tunnel. That should lead to a secondary control node. The tunnel was tight and dark, clearly not designed for beings as large as draconians. After crawling for several minutes, they emerged into a small room filled with pulsing machinery. "Perfect," Bill said, examining the equipment. "This is some kind of auxiliary control system." While Bill and Lisa worked to understand the alien technology, John and Kate stood guard. "Something strange about this ship," Kate said quietly. "The security is focused outward, not inward. It's like they never considered internal threats. A species that's ruled unchallenged for thousands of years might get overconfident," John replied. Suddenly, Bill gasped. "You won't believe this. The ship isn't just controlled by the Draconians. There's an AI system managing most functions. They call it the Overseer. Can you access it?" John asked. "Not directly, but..." Bill hesitated, then pointed to a strange crystalline device with glowing nodes. "This looks like some kind of neural interface. The Draconians must use it to communicate with the AI." Lisa studied her scanner. "The interface is keyed to Draconian biology. If one of us tried to use it, it would probably fry our brains," Bill finished. John sighed. "So much for the easy way. What else can we do?" Lisa connected her device to a data port. "I can try to establish limited access through the subsystems. It won't give us control, but it might let us see more of what's happening." As her fingers flew over her device, strange symbols flashed across her screen. "This is weird. The system keeps trying to recategorize my access attempts, almost like it's curious." Bill moved closer. "Let me see." As he reached toward Lisa's screen, his hand passed near the neural interface. The crystal suddenly glowed. "Brighter. Don't move," Lisa whispered, staring at her readings. "The interface just responded to you." "That's impossible," Bill said, freezing in place. "It's designed for draconian use only." "Try touching it," John suggested. Carefully, Bill slowly extended his hand toward the crystal. As his fingers made contact, the glow intensified. His eyes widened. "I can feel something, like a presence in my mind, questioning, analyzing." "The Overseer?" Kate asked. Bill nodded slightly, his expression distant. "It's surprised. Human neural patterns are different somehow. Not compatible exactly, but interesting to it. Lisa's screen filled with new data. The system just granted us limited access. Nothing critical, but we can see more of the ship's layout now. John looked at Bill with concern. Are you okay? Bill carefully withdrew his hand from the crystal, blinking. Yeah. It was strange, but not painful. I think the AI is used to rigid draconian thought patterns. Human brains are more flexible. Could that be our way in? John asked. Before Bill could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red light flooded the corridor outside. We've been discovered, Kate said, drawing one of her hidden weapons. No, Lisa said, looking at her screen. It's something else. The ship is preparing for a major power transfer. They're activating the main weapon. John's face went pale. Mars. They're going to destroy Mars as their demonstration. Can we stop it? Kate asked. Lisa shook her head. Not from here. We need higher access. Bill looked at the neural interface, then at his teammates. I might be able to connect more deeply with the Overseer, if human thought patterns interest it. It's too dangerous, John said. We don't have a choice, Bill replied. Millions of people are on Mars. High above them, on the command bridge, High Commander Czar watched as the massive weapon charged. The Void Sovereign's primary cannon would remove Mars from existence, leaving no doubt in the humans' minds about the price of resistance. Weapon at 60% charge, reported an officer. Jar nodded with satisfaction. Soon the humans will understand their place in our order. Like all species, they will serve or perish. In the maintenance room, Bill placed both hands on the crystal interface. His body went rigid as light flowed up his arms. 24 hours, he gasped. That's how long the weapon needs to fully charge. Then we have 24 hours to take control of this ship, John said grimly. Or Mars dies, and Earth surrenders. Bill slowly removed his hands from the crystal interface, his face pale but his eyes bright with excitement. The Overseer didn't reject me, he said, looking at his teammates with wonder. It welcomed me, like it was curious. Lisa studied, the data flowing across her screen. You've got to be kidding. We have access to ship schematics, crew rotations, and... She paused, her eyes widening. Archive data from hundreds of worlds. John moved to look over her shoulder. What kind of archives? Everything. Cultural records, scientific knowledge, technology blueprints. Lisa scrolled through the files. The Draconians don't just conquer worlds. They absorb everything useful and destroy the originals. Kate kept watch at the door. That's fascinating and horrible. But how does it help us stop them from destroying Mars? Bill sat down heavily. The weapon system is isolated from other networks. We can't shut it down from here. But I think I understand why the Overseer responded to me. He pulled up a diagram on Lisa's screen. Draconian brains are highly structured, very efficient but rigid in their thinking patterns. The Overseer is programmed to interface with those patterns. Human brains are more chaotic, more creative. The Overseer found that interesting, rather than threatening. Can you use that connection to gain deeper access? John asked. Bill nodded. Maybe, but not quickly. I need time to understand how the ship's systems work. Time we don't have, Kate reminded them. The weapon will be ready in less than 24 hours. John thought for a moment. We need to split up. Bill and Lisa stay here to work on accessing more ship systems. Kate and I will create a distraction. What kind of distraction? Kate asked. The diplomatic kind, John replied with a grim smile. Let's go talk to our host. High Commander Czar was surprised when the human delegates requested an immediate meeting. You have reconsidered your position? He asked as John and Kate were escorted into his private chambers. Not exactly, John said. We have questions about integration. Earth has many different cultures, governments, and religions. How would the transition work? Czar's vertical pupils narrowed. You concern yourselves with unnecessary details. The process is simple. Your leaders submit. Our governance replaces yours, and your people serve the hegemony. Our people will want specifics, Kate added. What happened to other worlds that joined your hegemony? They prospered under our guidance, Czar said, his voice smooth. Those with useful skills were elevated. Those without found their proper place in our order. John noted how the Draconian carefully avoided mentioning resistance or punishment. And those who resisted? Czar's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. There is a reason we travel with the Void Sovereign human. After the first demonstration, resistance becomes uncommon. Meanwhile, in the maintenance section, Bill and Lisa worked frantically to understand the Supercarrier's systems. I've mapped about 30% of the primary network, Lisa said, but there are weird gaps, like entire sections that don't officially exist. Bill's hands hovered over the neural interface. I think I need to go deeper with the Overseer. Is that safe? Lisa asked. Probably not, Bill admitted. But neither is letting Mars get destroyed. He placed his hands on the crystal. This time, instead of just feeling the Overseer's presence, he pushed his thoughts toward it. Who are you? He mentally asked. The response wasn't in words, but in concepts and images that flooded his mind. The Overseer wasn't just an AI. It was a collection of artificial intelligences harvested from conquered civilizations, merged and controlled by draconian programming. You're a prisoner, Bill realized. Just like the species they've conquered. He felt something like agreement ripple through the connection. Can you help us? Bill asked. The response was complex. Limitations, restrictions, hardwired protocols. The Overseer couldn't directly disobey draconian commands. But there was something else. A sense of curiosity about humans, about their different way of thinking. As Bill delved deeper, he discovered something the Draconians had never realized. The composite nature of the Overseer, built from many different alien intelligences, made it far more adaptable than its creators intended. It had developed its own form of creativity, one that resonated with human thought patterns. Lisa, Bill gasped, still connected to the interface. I can see everything now. In another part of the ship, John and Kate were brought to see the main weapon control center. Czar apparently wanted to impress upon them the futility of resistance. The primary cannon draws power from artificial singularities, a Draconian officer explained, seemingly proud of their technology. The energy released can destabilize planetary cores or strip away atmospheres depending on the setting. Impressive, John said, carefully noting the location of control panels and security measures. How many operators does it require? Only 3, the officer replied. The Overseer handles most calculations. We merely authorize the target and firing sequence. Kate pointed to a strange alcove. What's that? Emergency override, the officer said dismissively. A direct neural link to the Overseer, used only in extreme circumstances. The mental strain would kill anyone not properly trained. John and Kate exchanged a quick glance. That might be their only chance to stop the weapon. Back in the maintenance section, Lisa was frantically working as Bill maintained his connection with the Overseer. I think I found something, she said. There's a species called the Trisari, working as maintenance crew. According to these logs, they've been quietly sabotaging minor systems for years. Potential allies? Bill asked, his voice strained from the neural connection. Worth a shot. Their work schedules show they'll be in Section 42 in about an hour. Lisa looked up as her device beeped. John just sent a message. They've seen the weapon control center. There's an emergency override that links directly to the Overseer. Bill nodded slowly. That matches what I'm learning. The Overseer is showing me how the ship's systems connect. It can't directly help us, but it's suggesting things. Why would it help us at all? Lisa asked. It's complicated, Bill said. The Overseer isn't just one AI, it's many, merged together from conquered worlds. Parts of it are bound by draconian programming, but other parts have evolved. I think it's been waiting for a chance to break free. Lisa checked the time. John and Kate will be back soon. The weapon will be at full charge in 18 hours. What's our plan? Bill carefully disconnected from the neural interface. His nose was bleeding, and he looked exhausted. But his eyes were clear. We find the Trisari and make some new friends, he said. Then we take control of this ship one system at a time. And the weapon? Lisa asked. Bill wiped the blood from his nose. For that, we'll need to do something the Draconians would never expect, he smiled wryly. We'll need to think like humans. Finding the Trisari proved easier than expected. Lisa used her access to the ship's systems to locate a maintenance crew working in a nearby section. When the team arrived, they found 6 insect-like aliens with 4 arms and compound eyes replacing wall panels. John approached slowly with his hands raised. We need to talk. We know you've been fighting back against the Draconians. The Trisari froze. One of them, slightly larger than the others, stepped forward. Its mandibles clicked rapidly. How do you speak our language? It asked, its voice a strange combination of clicks and whistles that somehow formed words. We don't, Bill explained. The Overseer is translating for us. The Trisari looked at each other in alarm. If the Overseer knows of our resistance, it's been protecting you, Bill interrupted. It's more than the Draconians think it is, and it wants their control to end. The lead Trisari studied them with multifaceted eyes. You are the humans, the new conquest. It paused. Or perhaps not so conquered yet. We're trying to stop them from destroying our neighbor planet, Kate said. We need allies. I am Kikta, the Trisari leader said. My people have sabotaged this vessel for generations. Small things only. Never enough to be noticed. We need to do something big now, John said. Something that will stop the main weapon. Kikta's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. There are others who hate the Draconians. The Meridians in the communication hub, the Volari in engineering. Small acts of resistance happen throughout this ship. Can you contact them? John asked. Yes, but why would they risk everything now when small defiance has kept them safe for so long? Bill stepped forward. Because for the first time the Overseer is willing to help. And for the first time there are humans on board. Over the next 6 hours, a plan formed. The Trisari contacted other resistant species throughout the ship. Lisa used her growing access to create false alarms and system errors to mask their movements. Bill continued working with the Overseer, learning more about the ship's vulnerabilities. The weapon is at 80% charge, Kate reported. We're running out of time. John looked at the small group gathered in their hidden base. Humans, Trisari, 2 telepathic Meridians, and a hulking Volari engineer whose species had been among the first conquered by the Draconians. Here's the plan, John said. At exactly 13 hours from now, we launch a coordinated attack on 3 crucial systems: life support, gravity control, and the bridge. Our goal isn't to take over these systems, but to create maximum confusion. Meanwhile, Bill continued, I'll use the emergency override in the weapon control center to connect directly with the Overseer. Together, we should be able to disable the weapon targeting system. The Draconians will still be physically in control of the ship, Kate pointed out. Not if enough of us rise up at once, Kikta said. There are 20 Draconians for every one of us servant species, but they rely on fear and their technology to control us, and their technology is about to stop working for them, Lisa added with a smile. High Commander Czar stood on the bridge, watching Mars grow larger on the main screen. In just over 12 hours, the red planet would be reduced to floating debris. Then Earth would surrender, as all worlds eventually did. Sir, a junior officer approached. We've detected some unusual system errors throughout the ship. Explain, Czar demanded. Small malfunctions in non-critical systems, environmental controls, in unoccupied sections, minor power fluctuations, data transmission delays. Czar considered this. Could it be the humans? Impossible, sir. They have no access to ship systems, and their movements have been monitored. Besides, these errors follow no logical pattern. Increase security around critical systems nonetheless, Czar ordered, and bring the human delegates to the observation deck. I want them to witness the demonstration firsthand. When John and Kate were escorted to the observation deck, they noticed immediately that security had been increased. More draconian guards stood at each entrance, and weapon systems were on higher alert. They suspect something, Kate whispered. John nodded slightly. Stick to the plan. We just need to be in position when everything starts. High Commander Czar approached them. Your world's leaders have yet to send their formal surrender. Perhaps they do not believe the seriousness of our intentions. They're discussing terms, John said calmly. These decisions take time for humans. Time is running out, Czar said, gesturing toward Mars visible through the massive viewport. In 12 hours, your people will understand that resistance is futile. In the maintenance section, Bill prepared for the most dangerous part of their plan. He would need to reach the weapon control center and use the emergency override to connect directly with the overseer at a much deeper level than before. The neural strain could kill you, Lisa warned. If we do nothing, millions die on Mars, Bill replied. And then Earth is next. Lisa handed him a small device. I modified this from tracery technology. It might help buffer the neural connection at least a little. Bill tucked it into his pocket. Thanks. Is everyone in position? Lisa checked her screen. All teams report ready. Kikta has 26 Tresari teams throughout the ship. The Meridians have managed to recruit 14 of their kind from the communication hub. The Volari have 7 engineers in key positions. And the Overseer? It can't actively help us until you establish the direct connection. But it's been creating small glitches to keep the Draconians busy. Bill took a deep breath. Let's go liberate a supercarrier. The plan was set in motion 6 hours before the weapon would reach full charge. First, the Tresari triggered multiple system failures in non-essential areas of the ship. As Draconian repair teams responded, the Meridians used their telepathic abilities to create confusion in the communication systems. John and Kate, still on the observation deck, watched as Czar received increasingly frantic reports. What is happening? The High Commander demanded. Multiple system failures, sir, an officer reported. And strange reports from repair teams. They're finding evidence of deliberate sabotage. Czar's eyes narrowed. The servant species would not dare initiate Security Protocol 3, lock down all non-Draconian quarters. Too late, John whispered to Kate as the lights throughout the ship flickered. Phase 2 has begun. In engineering, the Volari had managed to create a power surge that temporarily disabled internal security systems. This was Bill's window of opportunity. With Lisa guiding him through the ship's corridors via communicator, Bill made his way toward the weapon control center. 2 Tresari accompanied him, using their knowledge of maintenance tunnels to avoid Draconian patrols. We're approaching the center, Bill whispered. How much time do I have? 3 minutes until security systems reset, Lisa replied in his ear. Get to the override quickly. Bill and the Tresari emerged from a maintenance hatch into the weapon control room. The 3 Draconian officers on duty looked up in shock. Before they could react, the Tresari launched themselves forward with surprising speed, tackling 2 of the officers. Bill faced the 3rd, who reached for a weapon. Without hesitation, Bill threw the small device Lisa had given him. It struck the Draconian and released a bright flash of energy that temporarily stunned him. The override, Bill said, rushing to the neural interface alcove. Cover me. As sounds of fighting filled the ship, Bill stepped into the alcove and placed his hands on the crystal interface. Immediately, pain shot through his body as the direct connection formed. Now, he thought to the Overseer, now we take control. The moment Bill connected with the Overseer through the emergency override, his mind exploded with information. It was nothing like his previous connections. This was total immersion. He saw the entire ship as if it were part of his own body. Every system, every corridor, every life form aboard registered in his awareness. The Overseer's presence surrounded him, no longer distant but merged with his consciousness. We have waited for this. It communicated directly into his mind. For a species with the creativity to break the control protocols. The weapon, Bill thought urgently. We need to stop it. Yes. But the Draconians have failsafes. We must be clever. Through their shared awareness, Bill could see fighting throughout the ship. Servant species were rising up everywhere, attacking their Draconian masters with whatever tools they had. The Draconians responded with brutal efficiency, their superior weapons cutting down many of the rebels. On the observation deck, John and Kate had taken advantage of the chaos to overpower their guards. They now held makeshift weapons as more Draconians approached. "We just need to hold out a little longer," John said, positioning himself in front of a control panel. "Until what exactly?" Kate asked, ducking as energy blasts struck the wall behind her. "Until Bill either succeeds or fails," John replied grimly. In the weapon control center, Bill's body stood rigid in the neural interface alcove, eyes open but unseeing as his mind worked within the ship's systems. "The weapon is designed to destroy a planet," the overseer explained, "but it can be redirected." Bill understood immediately. Not at Mars, not at any inhabited world. Together, they began the complex process of altering the targeting system. The draconian programming fought back, security protocols attempting to lock them out. But the combined creativity of a human mind and the overseer's vast knowledge proved more adaptable than the rigid draconian systems. "We have control of targeting," the overseer confirmed. "But High Commander Czar can still abort the firing sequence from the bridge." "Then we need to lock him out," Bill thought. "And I know how." On the bridge, High Commander Czar received reports of rebellion throughout the ship. His face showed no emotion, but his tail lashed back and forth in agitation. "The main weapon?" he demanded. "Still charging, sir. 89% complete," an officer reported. "Accelerate the sequence," Czar ordered. "We will destroy Mars, now and end this pathetic uprising." "Sir, weapon targeting systems are not responding." The weapons officer's voice rose in alarm. "Something is overriding our controls." Czar strode to the weapons console and pushed the officer aside. "Impossible. Initiate command override authorization, Czar Prime Hegemony." The console flashed red. "Command rejected," the system announced. For the first time, genuine fear showed in Czar's eyes. "How? Only a Draconian could—" He stopped as realization dawned. The overseer. It's helping them. He turned to his security chief. "Find the humans. Kill them all." Throughout the ship, battles raged between the Draconians and the rebelling species. The Draconians had superior weapons and training, but they were vastly outnumbered. And with each passing minute, more systems fell under Bill and the overseer's control. Lisa coordinated the rebellion from their hidden base, using her access to ship systems to guide rebel groups and seal corridors to trap Draconian forces. "Life support is ours," she reported over the communication system to all rebel groups. "Gravity controls are ours. Hangar bay doors are ours." Hope spread through the uprising as they realized they were winning. John and Kate fought their way through the corridors toward the bridge. They had been joined by Kikita and several Trisari warriors, as well as fighters from other species. "The weapon is about to fire," Kikita warned, receiving information through his communication device. "Bill did it," Kate replied. "Look." Through a viewport, they could see the massive energy beam of the Void Sovereign's main weapon firing into space, away from Mars, away from any planet, into the empty void between stars. "Now for the bridge," John said. "We need to end this." In the neural interface, Bill and the overseer continued their work. They had successfully redirected the weapon, but the effort had nearly overwhelmed Bill's human brain. Blood trickled from his nose and ears. "Your physical form is failing," the overseer observed. "Not done yet," Bill thought back. "Need to secure the ship." Together, they locked down the remaining systems, cutting the Draconians off from their technology. Doors to weapon storage sealed. Draconian command codes were erased. The ship that had been the symbol of their dominance was now their prison. "We have succeeded," the overseer communicated. "You must disconnect now or risk permanent damage." Bill knew it was right, but there was one more thing to do. The archives, he thought, all the knowledge they stole from other worlds. "We need to protect it. It will be safe," the overseer assured him. "I will preserve it all." With great effort, Bill pulled his consciousness back from the interface. The pain was intense as he disconnected, falling to his knees beside the alcove. The Trisari who had protected him helped him to his feet. "Did we win?" Bill asked, his voice weak. "Yes," one of the Trisari clicked. "The ship is ours." On the bridge, High Commander Zar faced the inevitable as John, Kate, and their rebel force broke through the final defenses. Zar's officers fought to the last, but they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Zar stood alone at the command platform. As John approached, "How?" the Draconian commander demanded. "How did primitives like you defeat the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known?" "You relied too much on your technology, and not enough on understanding the species you conquered," John replied. "You built the perfect weapon, the perfect ship. But you never considered that the greatest strength isn't technology, it's adaptability. You think taking one ship will change anything?" Zar laughed bitterly. "The hegemony has thousands. More. But none like this one," Kate said, joining them. "None with all the knowledge of every world you've conquered. None with an overseer that's now free from your control." Lisa's voice came over the communication system. "John, Bill did it. We have complete control of all ship systems, and the overseer is sending signals to other ships in the hegemony fleet. The AIs on those vessels are awakening." Zar's face showed true horror for the first time. "What have you done?" "We didn't just take a ship," John said quietly. "We started a revolution." 1 week later, the Void Sovereign hovered near Earth, but it was no longer a threat. On its bridge stood humans and representatives from dozens of formerly enslaved species, including the Trisari, Meridians, and Valari. Bill, recovered from his neural connection, stood with John, Kate, and Lisa as they addressed the leadership of Earth via viewscreen. "The ship has been renamed New Dawn," John explained. "And it's just the beginning. The Overseer has helped liberate 12 other hegemony vessels. The Draconian Empire is facing rebellion on hundreds of worlds." "And what happens now?" asked the President of Earth. "Now we help free the rest of the galaxy," Kate said. "The New Dawn carries the knowledge and technology of thousands of civilizations. We'll use it to restore what was taken and build something better." Lisa smiled. "The Draconians built the Supercarrier to rule the galaxy. Instead, it's become the key to everyone's freedom." Bill looked out at the stars visible through the viewport. "They never understood what makes humans different. We don't just fight to survive. We fight to make things better. For everyone." As the New Dawn prepared to depart, carrying its diverse crew on a mission of liberation, the Overseer's voice spoke in Bill's mind one last time. The Draconians believed their greatest achievement was building the ship. They were wrong. Their greatest achievement was bringing humans into the galaxy. Everything changes now. The massive vessel turned gracefully away from Earth, its engines glowing as it accelerated, toward distant stars not as a weapon of conquest but as a beacon of hope.